So this is Group 3's leadership presentation, otherwise known as Team Razzie, and our leader of choice is Oprah Winfrey. And Oprah Winfrey is a woman of many talents and gifts, but she's mostly recognized as one of the most influential and successful women in the nation. So starting off with some historical or background information about Oprah, she had a difficult childhood growing up into a separated family and being raised by her grandmother up until the age of 6 on pretty much a secluded neighborhood in the middle of nowhere on a farm. And her grandmother actually taught her to read by the age of 2 years old. And it wasn't until after her grandmother had passed and she was about 6 or 7 that her parents were taking legal guardianship over Oprah. That is when just her whole family home life was getting complicated, just because of the fact that her mother lived in one part of the country and her dad lived in another, and it was two completely different lifestyles that her parents were both living, whereas her mom was working 2 jobs and she was trying to support for Oprah and her siblings and was rarely ever home, which is why her mother Vernita Lee was leaving Oprah and her siblings in the care of whether it may be family friends or uncles or any person who was willing to just look after them. And that is when Oprah started being sexually abused and basically neglected as a child, because no one was there to really properly take care of the kids. And so it was by age 9 that she was being isolated from her father, because she had to stay with her mother and equal the time between both parents. But then her being sexually abused by the men that her mother invited into their home really had a toll on her as a child. And it wasn't until the age of 14 that she actually, one of the rapes resulted in a pregnancy for Oprah by the age of 14 years old. And she hid this from her family up until right when the baby was born prematurely and had passed a couple days after. But yeah, that was her mother's side of the family, or her mother's home. But then for her father, he provided basically a security blanket for her, and that is where she discovered her passion, which was speaking in front of mass groups of people. She had done so whenever she would be going to social gatherings in churches with her father. And so yeah. And then with her personal experience of being sexually abused as a child, though at a very young age, she goes to play a major role in passing the National Child Protection Act, which established for more protection of children and the more watchful eye towards potential child abusers or offenders in the nation. So she was just Winfrey was showing that she had grown from this experience later on in her life, and she didn't let it dwindle her entire life due of it. So she had done so with the platform that she was given by the early 80s, when she had become a co-host of AM Chicago, which was a news broadcasting system. And then the year after, she soon got a role in a major movie called The Color Purple. And then the year after that, AM Chicago, the news broadcasting system, had become the Oprah Winfrey Show, and she had opened up her own production studio, and the show began to be one of the most successful shows on television, which aired for the 25 years that it did, because of many people all over the nation who had watched it. So in the takeoff of her career, she had basically learned to grow from everything that happened into her life, and she was in no way born into a family of wealth and inherited everything money-wise or financially from her parents. She had only had a difficult childhood growing up and knew how to grow from the experience that she did have. And so, one quote that I pulled from an interview was in an interview of Oprah Winfrey pulled from Reader's Digest back in 2018. Oprah recognizes she cannot do everything alone, as she once thought she could, and accepts that when it comes to real change, we all have a long way to go and a lot to contribute. So basically, Oprah Winfrey had arguably become the woman that she is today because of all that she has put effort into and done for herself based off of everything that's happened in her life. And I believe that is it.
As it was said previously, Oprah Winfrey allows for her hardships that she encountered as a young woman and as a little girl to pretty much fuel her fire. They have allowed her to become a successful businesswoman, entrepreneur, and inspiration that she is today, by inspiring those who might be losing hope or those who are in a desperate time of need. Just giving them hope and inspiration that there's light at the end of the tunnel. But we're going to be talking about her most recent, past, and future developments from a business standpoint, from a movie standpoint, etc. Starting in 2015, Oprah Winfrey bought a stake out of the Weight Watchers company, and she also took a seat at the board of directors for Weight Watchers. So that was in 2015, and up until 2018, the stock prices increased. In 2018, stock prices began to decrease up until 2019. In 2019, it began to increase again, and is currently still increasing. In 2012, she started her new show called Oprah's Next Chapter. It aired for 3 seasons and aired for 3 years. Up until 2015 is when it stopped airing. It wasn't as successful as her previous show, which ended airing a year before the Oprah Winfrey Show, but it was still successful, but not as successful. In 2017, she became a special correspondent in the news magazine 60 Minutes, which aired on CBS. Her being a special correspondent means she covers firsthand, covers the stories firsthand, meaning she was out there asking the questions, writing them down, to later be produced into a production. 60 Minutes featured some of the most inspirational, well-known, most popular people around the world. They have aired 52 seasons worth, and over 20 episodes per season, which adds up to over 1,000 episodes. In addition, another development from a business standpoint is that Oprah owns 90% of Harpo's stock, which was founded by herself. Harpo's is a multimedia production company. They produce some of the most successful shows. They are also considered the most successful production company in daytime talk show. They produced the Oprah Winfrey Show, of course, the Nate Berkus Show, and the Dr. Oz Show. In 2018, Oprah Winfrey starred in a movie called A Wrinkle in Time. The movie was released during the Black Panther time, meaning Black Panther was #1 at the time. Them trying to knock them off the #1 spot. They weren't successful in doing so. They made over $130 million worldwide from the box office. So it was pretty successful, but not enough to be the #1 spot. In 2019, or most recently, it was announced that her and Miley Cyrus were going to be presenting a virtual graduation ceremony for the high school graduates. It would be a select few, but they will still be presenting a graduation for some people. Not everyone's gonna be getting a graduation because of coronavirus, but they will be providing some happiness to some families and some students around the nation. In 2020, she was supposed to be starting the new show called Oprah's 2020 Vision, Your Life in Focus. It was gonna be of her traveling the country, interviewing people, just trying to inspire people to have 2020 vision and see a light and just inspire them to be better versions of themselves. It was quoted that by her by Oprah Winfrey. She states that what I know for sure is that we can all come together to support a stronger, healthier, more abundant life, focused on what makes us feel energized, connected, and empowered. So she was on a journey to empower people, bring people together, bring us back to a whole. Sadly, that was stopped due to coronavirus, but I'm sure that will be continuing shortly after this is all over. Now, with all of these developments from all these different aspects of life comes with many, many achievements. And yes.
So on to Oprah Winfrey's achievements. Some of the awards she's won is that she was given an honorary National Book Award for her, quote, influential contribution to reading and books, end quote, in October of 1999. She was awarded the 50th Anniversary Medal by the National Book Foundation in New York City of November 1999. She was ranked #1 pop culture icon on VH1's The Greatest, 200 Greatest Pop Culture Icons in 2003, and she beat out Superman and Elvis. She was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame in Seneca Falls, New York in 1984. She is the first woman in history to own and produce her own talk show. And according to Forbes.com, her 2019 net worth was $2.6 billion. In 2003, she became the first African American woman to make it to the list of billionaires. And she was also the first African American woman billionaire in history and first African American female entrepreneur to appear on the Bloomberg Billionaires Index. On to her charity work. She created the Angel Network in 1997, in which her audience would donate coins or whatever they could afford to donate to help out the Boys and Girls Club and also Habitat for Humanity. This network now also provides grants for education, leadership development, human rights protection, and it also assists in the creation of support communities. Donations to this program go towards funding projects like the Oprah Winfrey Leadership Academy for girls in South Africa. She also created the Oprah Winfrey Foundation in 2007, and it is run solely by Oprah Winfrey herself. She created this foundation to try to give help to nonprofit organizations, and especially so to those organizations dealing with issues in education. She personally chooses the organizations she wants to help as she solely runs this, and she also chooses who receives grants. She has also supported charities and foundations like the NAACP, her own Oprah Angel Network, Peace Over Violence, UNICEF, Women for Women International, Women in the World Foundation, the World Food Program, Heifer International, the Mississippi Animal Rescue League, and etc. Another one of her achievements was the creation of the Oprah Winfrey Show, and it was broadcast in Chicago, and it ran for 25 years straight consecutively from 1986 to 2011. In total, it broadcast 217 episodes, and a lot of those episodes often revolved around issues of sexual abuse. She was at one point the richest African American of the 20th century and North America's first African American multi-billionaire. She's trademarked on her show for her self-deprecating humor, and she oftentimes also sang on her show. She's the first woman in history to own and produce her own talk show. And on to, I think, arguably her greatest achievement was the creation of the Oprah Winfrey Network in 2008. She announced she would be getting her own television network, and this earned her a lot of both positive and negative attention, but either way, I think it was undoubtedly huge for her brand and legacy, as she still owns this network today. And it was supposed to be, the network was supposed to be basically her, quote, talk show liquefied and smeared across an entire day, according to Joshua Elston, but again, she received a lot of negative attention and positive attention for this. And the stories she presents on her shows, and her assistance to both her fans and the less fortunate through her show and allowing them to share their stories, and also through her charities, has earned her a cult-like following, and a following that's so strong she still possesses it to this day.